गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
गुड मॉर्निंग। ऑफलाइन में कोई स्टूडेंट नहीं आया। प्रेजेंटेशन के डर से नहीं आए क्या, या बारिश की वजह से?
सर ऑनलाइन ऑफलाइन दोनों चल रहा है ना अभी।
बारिश की वजह से सर।
बारिश की वजह से।
गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
गुड मॉर्निंग। ओके, नो प्रॉब्लम। रिरंजन, जो तुम भेजे हो हमको 3 रोल नंबर, वो प्रेजेंटेशन वाला रोल नंबर है?
यस सर।
ओके
सर, और हम आपको जो भेजे 8 है वो लोग भी शो कर दिया है, उन लोग का लिस्ट भेजे थे आपको।
क्या बोले शुभम?
सर हम भी आपको एक लिस्ट भेज दिए थे।
हाँ,
जो
तुमको तुम्हारा देखे, तुम्हारा लिखा हुआ है, समझ में आ गया। रिरंजन वाला जो लिखा हुआ नहीं था, तो हमको क्या भेजा है समझ में नहीं आ रहा था। तुम भेजो, समझ में आ गया। जो रिमार्क जो लिखे सबमिटेड है ना।
सर आई थॉट यू विल अंडरस्टूड।
हाँ, क्या?
सर आई थॉट यू विल अंडरस्टूड व्हाट इज अबाउट।
तो आज कौन शुरुआत करेगा बताओ? ओपनिंग कौन कर रहा है?
मैं करूं सर।
यस, मोस्ट वेलकम।
रोल 40।
रितेश, हाँ रुको, हम तुमको हम स्क्रीन शेयर का ऑप्शन परमिशन दे रहे हैं। यहाँ पे स्टार्ट करो। तो यही होना चाहिए। कितना अच्छा लग रहा है, 3 हैंड रेज हुआ। यही हम चाहते हैं। तो पहले रितेश, तब राहुल बर्नवाल, और तो उसके बाद भावेश। ठीक है।
सर स्क्रीन विजिबल है?
हाँ, यस विजिबल है।
Good morning, sir, and my dear friends. Myself Ritesh, and I am going to my shown PPT on the given topic.
वीडियो ऑन कर लो ना रितेश।
सर स्क्रीन शेयर के बाद वीडियो ऑफ हो जा रहा है, पता नहीं क्यों।
जब कर लो, देखो अगर आ गया तो ठीक है, नहीं तो ऑफ हो गया तो ठीक है।
ठीक है सर।
फाइन, दो।
If you talk about transaction, a transaction is an action or series of actions that are being performed by a single user or application program, which reads or updates the contents of the database. A transaction can be defined as a logical unit of work on the database. This may be an entire program, a piece of program, or a single command like the SQL command such as insert or update. And it may engage in any number of operations on the database. Properties of transaction. If you talk about property, it's called ACID. A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I stands for isolation, and D stands for durability. In the next slide.
बहुत बढ़िया।
Yes, sir.
कंटिन्यू कह रहे हैं, बहुत अच्छा।
In the next slide, we will discuss about atomicity in details. Atomicity. A transaction is an indivisible entity that is either performed in its entirety or will not get performed at all. This is the responsibility or duty of the recovery subsystem of the DBMS to ensure atomicity. A transaction is of atomic nature. It means either all the operations of a transaction are executed or none are executed. In next property, consistency. A transaction must alter the database from one steady state to another steady state. This is the responsibility of both the DBMS and the application developers to make certain consistency. The DBMS can ensure consistency by putting into effect all the constraints that have been mainly on the database schemas such as integrity and enterprise constraints. Next, independently of one another is the primary concept followed by isolation. In the other words, the frictional effects of incomplete transactions should not be visible or come into notice to other transactions going on simultaneously. It is the responsibility of the concurrency control subsystem to ensure adapting the isolation. Next, transaction property is durability. The effects of an accomplished transactions are permanently recorded in the database and must not get lost or vanish due to
हेलो, क्या हुआ? Ritesh, your voice is not coming.
When the instructions of the transactions are running, then the transaction is in active state. If all the read or write operations are performed without any error, then it goes to the partially committed state. If any instruction fails, it goes to the failed state. Partially committed. After completion of all the read and write operations, the changes are made in main memory or local buffer. If the changes are made permanent on the database, then the state will change to committed state. And in case of failure, it will go to the failed state. Failed state. When any instructions of the transaction fails, it goes to the failed state. Or if failure occurs in making a permanent change of data on database. Committed state. It is the state when the changes are made permanent on the database on the transaction is complete and therefore terminated in the terminate state. Terminated state. If there is not any rollback or the transaction comes from the committed state, then the system is consistent and ready for new transaction and the old transaction is terminated. Thank you.
बहुत अच्छे रितेश.
Thank you, sir.
तो ये बात समझ में भी आ रही है ना कि मतलब देख के अगर तुम प्रेजेंटेशन दे रहे हो तो ये बात समझ में भी आ रही है कि एटॉमिसिटी क्या है, ड्यूरेबिलिटी क्या है और
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ये सब है ना. ठीक है, ये
Yes,
एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है.
Yes, sir. Yes.
ठीक है, चलो इसका शेयर बंद करो, अपना शेयरिंग ऑफ कर दो. ओके, तो नेक्स्ट राहुल.
मॉर्निंग सर.
मॉर्निंग.
सर स्क्रीन शेयर है.
स्क्रीन शेयर है तुम्हारा, आ रहा है, दिख रहा है.
Morning sir and my friends, my topic is transaction.
Carry on.
Transaction. What is transaction? A transaction can be defined as a group of tasks. A single task is the minimum processing unit which cannot be divided further. That means a group of tasks is known as a transaction, and in the group of tasks, a single task is that minimal unit that cannot be divided further. Means a single task is the smallest unit. A transaction is a single logical unit of work which accesses and possibly modifies the content of a database. That means that means in a transaction, the content of a database can be modified and accessed as per the requirement of the user. Transactions access data using read and write operation. So in a transaction, the content of a database can be modified and accessed. And for modifying and access, there are two operations to be required. That is read and write. Let's take an example. Suppose we have to transfer of rupees 1000 from A's account to B's account. So firstly, from the A's account, we have to read the balance that is here. That is here, old balance is equal to A dot balance. Here we just reading the old balance. Now we perform the required operations, that is subtracting 1000 rupees. And now again we are just writing the new balance in the balance of A's account. Now again in B's account we same just read the balance, that is old balance equal to B dot balance, and again perform the necessary operation, that is adding of rupees 1000. And now again writing the new balance to the balance of the B's account. This whole process is known as transaction. Now in any transaction there are 6 states, that is active, partially committed, failed, abort, terminated, or committed. What is active? An active state is the state where the transaction is in execution process. That means this is not completed and this is not failed. It is in the running process. Partially committed, when all the read-write operation done in local machine. That means the transaction is that means transaction is completed, but the changes is not shown in the database. It is only shown in the local machine. Failed due to some hardware or software failure, system crashed in halfway. That means there's various reasons due to which hardware or software just fail while occurring a transaction. So in this case, the transaction gets failed and it not get completed. Abort, a rollback operation takes place and all values stored in local web memory is flushed. That means if a transaction gets failed, and for making it consistent, a rollback operation is to be takes place, which just goes backward to the previous state of the transaction. Terminated. Finally, transaction is terminated after committed or rollback. That means if a transaction is fully completed or it gets abort, then the transaction is called to be terminated. Committed. All the modified value of transaction is stored in permanent storage. That means transaction is fully completed, it has successfully run, and the changes is stored in the database also. Now, for making a database more accurate, completeness, and data integrity while occurring a transaction, it has some properties. This properties is known as ACID properties, and in each alphabet stands for a specific term. That is, A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I stands for isolation, and D stands for durability. First one is atomicity. This property states that a transaction must be treated as an atomic unit. That is, either all of its operations are executed or none. That means transaction is considered to be a group of tasks. So either all the group of tasks is to be completed or either none of them are executed. There must be no state in a database where a transaction is left partially completed. So as I said, all the group of tasks is to be executed. So there is no there's nothing there's no such time there's no such operation held where the half of the task is to be executed, and it involves two operations, that is abort or committed. If due to any reason hardware or system gets failed and it gets shut down or crashed, then the transaction is to be failed, and so abort function is to be called, which roll back all the operation. Or if a transaction gets fully completed, then it's said to be commit state. And atomicity is also known as the all or nothing rule. Consistency. This means that integrity constraint must be maintained so that the database is consistent before and after the transaction. That means if a transaction is going to be executed, then the data before the transaction and the data after the transaction must be the same. Let us understand with the help of an example in the last point. That is, for example, transfer 500 rupees from A's account to B's account. Here we are transferring 500 rupees from one account to B's account. So before the transaction, the summation of the balance of the A accounts and the B's account must be equal to the summation of the balance of both the account after the transaction. Generally, it is said to be consistent, and it refers to the correctness of database, and no transaction should have any adverse effect on the data residing in a database. Isolation. In a database system, where more than one transaction are being executed simultaneously and in parallel, the property of isolation states that all the transactions will be carried out and executed as if it is the only transaction in the system. That means if more than one transaction is executed simultaneously, then isolation states that all transaction is to be separated from each other and there is no interference. No transaction will affect the existence of any other transaction. As I said, there is no interference between the transaction must be occurred. Changes occurring in a particular transaction will not be visible to any other transaction until that particular change in that transaction is written to memory or has been committed. That means if the transaction is fully committed and the change occurs and the change is shown in database, then only it will affect the other transaction that is running simultaneously. Durability. This property ensures that once the transaction has completed execution, the update and modification of the database are stored in and written to the disk, and they persist even if a system failure occurs. That means if a transaction is fully committed, then it has to be stored in database for the record. So durability states that the transaction and that all the data that has been executed, it has to be stored in database and it has to be stored somewhere. These updates now become permanent and are stored in non-volatile memory. The effects of transaction thus are never lost. So if all the steps and the data that is changed after the transaction must be stored permanently, and so we cannot lose the data. Yeah, thank you.
बहुत अच्छे राहुल.
Thank you, sir.
तो इसमें जो तुम जो पहला दूसरा स्लाइड दिखाए थे, इसमें तुम ओपन अकाउंट और क्लोज अकाउंट कर रहे थे.
Yes, sir.
उसके जगह पे रीड अकाउंट और राइट अकाउंट कर देना, ठीक है ना?
Yes, sir.
क्योंकि ओपन फाइल तो है नहीं, डेटाबेस तो ऑलरेडी मेरा खुला हुआ है और डेटाबेस खोला नहीं है, तो सिर्फ रीड करना है डेटाबेस.
Okay, sir.
तो रीड अकाउंट एंड राइट अकाउंट रीड करेंगे और जो उसके साथ रीड कर लिए तो हम लोकल वेरिएबल में वो वैल्यू रख लिए, ठीक है. उसे प्लस करना है या माइनस करना है, जो मॉडिफिकेशन करना है लोकल मेमोरी में हो गया, और जब कमिट करेंगे तो ये मेरा उस सर्वर पे डेटाबेस सर्वर पे वो अपडेट हो जाएगा. और अपडेट होने के बाद ड्यूरेबिलिटी वाली बात आती है. एक बार अपडेट हो गया वहां पे, उसके बाद वो ड्यूरेबल रहेगा वो, ठीक है. हैंड डाउन कर लो और नेक्स्ट आ जाओ फ्रॉम भावेश.
Thank you, sir.
वेलकम. यस भावेश.
Good morning, sir, and my
good
dear
morning.
friends. Today I am here to present a presentation on RDBMS on topic relational algebra. Relational algebra is defined by E.F. Codd in 1971. It is a set of fundamental operations to retrieve and manipulate tuples it is a fundamental operations to retrieve and manipulate tuples in a relation. It is a procedural query language. Procedural means that it tells what to be retrieved and how to be retrieved, while relation calculus only means that what to be retrieved and doesn't say how to be retrieved. Relational algebra perform two types of operation: basic operation and derived operation. basic operation have six operations: select operations, project operation, union operation, set different operations, Cartesian product, and rename operation. So we are going to talk about select operation. Select is used to find a tuple or rows in a relation or table which satisfy the given condition. It is denoted by sigma, and syntax of the select operation is sigma condition and relation or table name. Project is used to select desired columns from table of given condition. It is denoted by pi. Syntax of project is pi and desired column name. Union operation, it must, to perform a union operation, it must union compatible. It means that both relations have the exact same attributes. It combines the rows of two relations and output a new relation that has both input relation, and it combines the duplicate value. It eliminates the duplicate value after union operation. It is denoted by union, you, and syntax of union is table name 1, union table name 2. Set different different operation takes the two set and returns the value that are in the first set, but not in the second set. It is denoted by minus, and syntax of set different is table name 1 minus table name 2. Cartesian product. This is used to combine each tuple of first relation with each tuple of second relation. It is denoted by cross, means multiply symbol, and syntax of Cartesian product is row 1 into row 2. Rename. It is denoted by row, and this operation is used to rename a relation or an attribute of a relation. And it is noted by row. Syntax of rename is row, new attribute name, and old attribute name. Now we are going to talk about derived operation. Derived operation have natural join, left, right, and full outer join, and intersection and division. Natural join joins two tables based on same attribute, name and data types. The resulting table will contain all the attribute of both the table, but keep only one copy of each column. It is noted by symbol this, and syntax of natural join is relational table, natural join, and relational table 2. And we are going to talk about outer join. Outer join have left outer join, right outer join, and full outer join. We are going to talk about left outer join. Left outer join, this returns all the rows of the table on the left side of the join, and matching rows for the table on the right side of join. The row for which there is no matching row on right side, basically it returns the value which is in the left outer join and match with the right outer join. And right outer join is a it is a reverse of left outer join. Basically, right outer join does when right join tables match with left outer join, that returns right outer join. And full outer join. In a full outer join, all the tuples from both relations are included in the result, irrespective of matching condition. Means for full outer join, it doesn't matter that it doesn't matter in left or right outer join. It matches a condition. It matches a row. And syntax of left outer join, right outer join, full outer join, respectively. And we are going to talk about intersection operator. It is used to select common rows tuple from two tables or relation. If both the relation have same column and we want to select that rows that are present in both the relations, then we use this. And it is denoted by intersection symbol. Syntax of intersection is table name 1, intersection table name 2. division operator. Division operator, it is noted by a division symbol, and it is typically required when we want to find out entities that are interacting with all entities of a set of different type entities. For example, when we have to find out which person have account in all the banks of a particular city. If you take another example, which student have taken all the courses required to all courses. So when we use when we want all condition, we use division operator. And syntax of division operator is table name 1 divided by table name 2. Thank you, sir.
Good. भवेश हैंड डाउन कर दो. रोशन.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. My name is Roshan Kumar, and I am here to present a presentation on transaction in RDBMS. So what is transaction? Transaction refers to a collection of operations that performs a single logical unit of work. For example, consisting of checking both account balance and 2 updates. One to each account is a one transaction. A successful transaction to another. A transaction has only 2 operations. Transaction state. There are 6 states of any transaction. Active, partially, failed, about, terminated, committed. The active, when operation of a transaction is in execution. Partially committed, when all the read and write operation done in local machine. Failed, due to some hardware and software failure, system crashed in halfway. About, a rollback take place and all values stored in a local memory is flushed. Terminated, finally transaction is terminated after committed or rollback. Committed, all the modified value of transaction is stored in permanent storage. No rollback is possible. Transaction state. First we are active, then partially committed. Sir, in the given picture you can see acid property.
एक मिनट नीचे आओ, नीचे आओ, ऊपर वाला दिखाओ. पार्शियल कमिटेड किसको बोलेंगे?
Partial committed.
In what condition a transaction is called a partially committed?
What, sir?
कौन सा कंडीशन ऐसा है जिस कंडीशन पे कोई ट्रांजैक्शन पार्शियली कमिटेड कहा जाएगा?
सर नहीं पता सर.
अच्छा, पार्शियली कमिटेड कहने का मतलब
यस सर.
जब जो अभी हम जो बता रहे थे कि जो किसी अकाउंट में हमको कुछ चेंज करना है, कुछ जोड़ना है, घटाना है, तो सबसे पहले रीड अकाउंट किए.
यस,
ठीक है. और रीड अकाउंट किए तो उस डेटाबेस से उस अकाउंट को पढ़ के उसका वैल्यू कहाँ स्टोर किए? वर्क स्टेशन जो काम कर रहे हैं, जिसमें जो क्लाइंट मशीन है हमारा, उस मशीन के मेमोरी में. ठीक है, और हम
Yes, sir.
यहाँ पे 1000 रुपये जोड़ दिए। 1000 रुपये जोड़े तो डेटाबेस में जुड़ा या यहाँ जुड़ा? मेरे मशीन में जुड़ा ना,
Yes, sir.
है ना, मेरे मशीन में जुड़ा। जैसे कहने का मतलब कि अगर हम व्हाट्सएप खोलें और हम कुछ पोस्ट करने के लिए राइट करते हैं, राइट करेंगे तो क्या पोस्ट हो गया? जब तक हम पोस्ट करेंगे नहीं।
नहीं सर।
लेकिन पहले तो हम राइट किए तो दिख रहा है।
यस सर।
वो दिख रहा है तो हमारे लोकल मशीन पे है, यहाँ बफर में वो दिख रहा है टेक्स्ट। जैसे ही पोस्ट करेंगे वो कमिट हो जाएगा, मतलब वो सर्वर पे रिफ्लेक्ट कर जाएगा। ठीक है, तो जब तक हम अपने लोकल मशीन पे उसको अपडेट किए हैं तो पूरा का पूरा कमिट नहीं हुआ है, पार्शली कमिट हुआ, आधा अधूरा कमिट है। जैसे इसको हम भेज देंगे वहां पे
तो पूरा कमिटेड हो जाएगा।
हाँ, तो जैसे ही हम लिखेंगे कमिट तो ये सारा का सारा जितना डेटा, जितना वैल्यू हम चेंज किए थे लोकल मेमोरी में, वो सारा का सारा पुश हो जाएगा उस सर्वर में, डेटाबेस में। वहां रिफ्लेक्ट करेगा। अब उस अकाउंट को क्यूरी करोगे तो नया वाला अमाउंट दिखाएगा। तो फाइनल कमिट, ये पार्शियल कमिट। पार्शियल कमिट होने के बाद भी अगर मेरा कंप्यूटर बंद हो गया
ठीक,
तो फेल्ड हो गया।
यस सर।
हाँ, रोल बैक हो जाएगा, बिल्कुल। फेल्ड हो तब रोल बैक। पार्शियली कमिटेड इज आल्सो ऑलमोस्ट इक्विवेलेंट टू द फेल्ड, है ना। चलो, ओके, कंटिन्यू। समझना जरूरी है, समझ के करोगे ना तो बड़ा अच्छा लगेगा।
यस सर, थैंक यू सर। Acid properties. Acid property. Every transaction must have acid property. A means atomicity, C means consistency, I means isolation, D means durability. Atomicity. A transaction is of atomic nature. It means either all the operation of transaction are executed or none are executed. If a transaction is partially done or committed, and a failure occurred before final commit, then database will be in a inconsistent state. To overcome this inconsistency, transaction management component rollback whole transaction to get in earlier consistent state. Consistency. The data in database should be consistent all the times. It's simply evaluated by comparing values before transaction and after transaction. If any inconsistency found, a rollback operation is done. Isolation. At any point of time, there may be many transaction in isolation of other transaction. It transaction executing concurrently in the system. Ensuring the isolation property is responsibility of concurrency control component. Durability. Once the execution of transaction completes successfully and all the updates that is carried out on the database will persist, even if there is a system failure after transaction completes execution. Ensuring durability is responsibility of recovering management component.
अच्छा, एटॉमिसिटी किसका रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है? कौन सा कंपोनेंट है डेटाबेस का जो एटॉमिसिटी का टेक केयर करता है?
कौन सा कंपोनेंट सर?
हाँ, तुम स्लाइड सामने ले आए तो बता ही दोगे।
ट्रांजैक्शन मैनेजमेंट सर।
ये चारों याद रखना, ठीक है?
यस सर।
ये चार जो है एसिड, वो कौन कौन सा कंपोनेंट है, इस चारों का टेक केयर करता है।
ओके
ये
सर।
1 नंबर का सवाल है और ये गेट का सवाल है, गेट का पूछा हुआ सवाल है, ठीक है?
यस
चलो, ओके, हो गया तुम्हारा?
यस सर, थैंक यू सर।
ओके, वेलकम। हैंड डाउन कर लो रोशन। सैफ है क्या? Saif had promised yesterday that day before yesterday, the next class he will give. Saif, are you there? Okay, Sonu.
शेयर करें?
हाँ यस करो। तुम ऐसे बैठे हो ना कि पीछे से लाइट आ रहा है, तुम्हारे चेहरे पे लाइट ही नहीं आ रहा है। सोनू कुमार नेटवर्क बैंडविड्थ इज लो। ये मैसेज आ रहा है कि योर बैंडविड्थ इज लो।
हेलो सर,
कंटिन्यू।
दिख रहा है सर?
हाँ दिख रहा है, आवाज भी आ रही है, स्क्रीन में दिख रहा है।
I'm Sonu Kumar. Good morning to all of you, and I'm going to present my presentation on topic cost rules. Is Edgar Frank?
अच्छा एक मिनट वेट, सुनो बैक स्क्रीन पे जाओ।
सर,
इसके पहले वाला अर्लियर स्लाइड पे जाओ ना। हाँ देखो ना तुम, RDBMS ये एब्रिविएशन है रिलेशनल डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम का, और जो भी एब्रिविएशन होता है वो कभी भी शॉर्ट में नहीं लिखते हैं, सारा का सारा कैपिटल लेटर, सुने ना। तो R कैपिटल, DMMS कैपिटल एज वेल। हाँ करेक्ट।
is the inventor of national database management system. He invented a tool for national database management system.
सबको ऑडिबल है सोनू? मेरे पास आवाज सब बहुत कम आ रहा है।
सर सेम यार सर।
तो माइक क्लोज करके बोलो।
Hello sir.
अब आ रहा है, यस।
He is the inventor of relational database management database model for database. Relational RDBMS, a database management system that is based on relational model as introduced by EF Code.